So I put these lemon verbena in a week and a half or 2 weeks ago. Just bent them over into this bin to propagate a bunch of new cuttings the easy way, basically, the lazy way, the less stressful way. So now they're sprouting off like crazy all through here. And I know it's nighttime, but I just got back to this now, so it is what it is. So I'll just show you real quick. I'm just going to cut them free, like right here on this line. Try to show you that. Boom and boom. And now that's a whole separate group of plants, lemon verbena plants, that we can take to the farm and propagate directly. So July 22nd, 2024. Long day in the office doing various things. But wanted to get up here. We have a rainstorm line coming here, and I just wanted to get a look at things before the rain came. I didn't want to do it getting soaked today. So just stopped up to get a look at the plants. And man, they're looking good. They're happy and healthy. Spoke with AEA today. Got our plant sap sample test kits on the way. Those should be here by the end of the week. And then so early next week I'll send out plant sap samples. And then hopefully by the end of that week or the following week we'll have plant sap data on them. And then we can kind of do some comparisons here. But just want to look at this again here quick, and you can see how these are all pretty uniform and robust and healthy. And then as we go down this one row end here, it's not quite as good. And there's still the Colorado potato bug in here. That one foliar feed that I tried to knock them out with did not work. So they're still here chewing. They don't look quite as healthy and happy as they were, but they are still chewing. And interesting. Interesting. I don't see them on here chewing still. I don't know if they moved to another plant or what happened here. So that's interesting. I don't know. We definitely see, damage still here from them, but I don't see them in here working now. And maybe because these plants, as we're going this way, are in the better health range, maybe they got enough immunity that the Colorado potato bug went off to these other plants, or maybe we got them knocked out. I doubt it, but maybe. Again, I was trying to maintain transparency and really show how things are done here, because the only way we can do real science and get real data and find real ways to beat these pests is through absolute honesty and integrity through the whole process. So that will be and continue to be the standard here on my channel. And we'll do a plant sap test when the samples come, and we'll see what happens. I probably, because we have quite a bit of time before I actually take that plant sap sample next week, I probably midweek this week will come back and do another foliar feed. I got to figure out how I'm going to formulate that based on this response for now. So for now, I don't have any more information on that, but just thought I would detail that for the people who are following along in the series here. So just a quick check-in on things here, and we'll go take a look at stuff up top quick. Just a quick look at these cherry tomatoes here. We have clusters of cherry tomatoes coming on already, which shows you just how far behind I am in staking these up. I'm not going to get back here today. Maybe tomorrow. It's just hard to find the time to keep up with everything. And these are those, I'll have to pull the variety up when I get home, but they're like a plum beefsteak sort of cross. Italian tomato, like a heart something heart, blue heart, or something like that. They're from that Italian tomato seed company. Again, we look at how big these plants actually are, and that they really need to be staked up. And you can see why I'm so conflicted about using these stakes, because they're not even going to last, a couple of weeks before we're going to outgrow the stakes. So I got to come up with some alternative solutions very quickly, which I'm working on. The turmeric is starting to take off nicely in here, though. That's really nice to see. And I think in part with my recent activity being around here more and disking this open a little bit, and that kind of stuff, it's giving us a little more of a buffer against animals. You can see they still have been chewing on it a bit. But I think as it starts to really take off, maybe we can get out ahead of them. It'll develop a thick enough, big enough canopy and not be so tender. And maybe that will deter them a bit. I also do see a ginger here peeking up from under this tomato. Actually, two. No, one. That's a weed. Actually, two. That's a ginger. So it's nice to see those coming through in the under canopy as well. That is, again, part of why I planted everything together like I did. Try and develop that thick canopy that, makes it hard for the animals to even distinguish which is which. That's a pretty good defensive mechanism, believe it or not. If you can get out beyond the initial start point and get to where you have that canopy, and the plant maturity starts to get bigger and the flavor profile changes. It's not as tender and like green shoot lettucey to them, for lack of a better way to say it, and they tend not to go after it as much. But it is really nice to see all this stuff growing like crazy, and this holy basil is just off the hook. And I put out one email today toward markets on that, and I have to drop a few samples maybe tomorrow, because most of the restaurants are closed today. It's a Monday. So I guess that's it for now. I guess we'll just go down and take a look at the tarragon quick, and then I'm out. I got lots more to do. So here we are down at the tarragon, and they're starting to grow back nice throughout new green shoots all over the plant and out of the ground. So they are establishing, and I should get back here and get some mulch as well. And I might just give a call to somebody about getting some mulch straw or mulch hay, just to have a fast way to do that and get it down, because I just don't have time to spend a lot of time mowing and collecting mulch. And yeah, that's just all there is to it. So one thing I did forget to put down when I seeded this block with the buckwheat was some inoculants and some trace mineral amendments, just to help facilitate germination and good growth at that first critical point of influence, which is germination. So given that I missed that in the planting, just trying to get the planting in, and we have rain forecasted today, tomorrow, and Wednesday, I'm going to come back hopefully tomorrow night or Wednesday while it's raining and wet, and put down a drench and an inoculant. Basically spray it onto the surface of the soil and try to incorporate that with the use of the rain and the moisture to get that biology down into the soil before it can be killed off by ultraviolet light and that kind of thing. Usually it's best to incorporate inoculants directly into the soil at planting, but we can't always do that, and there's other ways to compromise around that. And so that's one technique I've used many times, where I come back and in conjunction with a good heavy rain, I'll put an inoculant and drench down and let the rain help carry that in, so it gets down into the soil profile, and those microbial communities can get established. Right. Knowing the rain's coming, not having gotten mulch down, not having a real way to get a lot of mulch down fast, and wanting to get this soil covered with something, I've decided I'm going to put down a buckwheat cover crop in between and around all these potato rows, so at least we'll have photosynthetic action and be enhancing and sequestering and protecting soil microbiology and soil health. So I'm just going to lay down the last 30 pounds of this down this whole strip over the potatoes, tomatoes. I'm going to try and come back, probably see if I can find some mulch hay and mulch around the tomatoes. Would like to get an actual mulch down over them, but everything else just getting blazed with some buckwheat, and that'll pop up and do its thing. July 23rd. Just checking in on the potatoes quick here. Growing very rapidly. Got some more rain, not heavy, but overnight this morning we got some rain, so that's nice down on top of that freshly planted buckwheat cover crop. And you can see that I didn't get any of this stuff planted in, it's just sitting on the surface at the moment. But I expect we're supposed to still get some heavy rains tonight into tomorrow or tomorrow. So I'm hoping we get those. If not, I may try to adjust that cutter up even a little higher and just take a rip through to get everything buried in a little better. But we'll see. Anyway, just thought I'd get a close look at the plants here. I like to get a good shot of them on camera every day because it's good to be able to see the comparison, the growth speed, and if we do make a mistake and end up having a crash, it's always nice to see where do we see the visible effects of that transition. And same thing the other way, when we give a foliar feed, it's nice to see the visible effects of the enhancement of growth. And we're definitely seeing that here this week from last week's foliar feed. That was a pretty solid, heavy feed, and man, it really does show in the plant vigor and vitality. All right, I'm just taking a look at these tomato plants over here. I put in a call on tomato stakes this morning. If those work out, that'll be right exactly what I'm looking for. So yeah, these are doing really well, but they really do need staking. This is the Scatoloni. August 24th. These tomatoes are massive, super meaty, and super delicious. And I just wanted to get you a close-up here. Apologize for the rough camera work here, but look at that tomato. That's not quite completely ripened yet, but the size of this is amazing. I brought a measuring tape out here, actually. One sec. Alright, so there you go. So that's a solid 5.5-inch tomato in length. And let's see, in width, it's a solid 2.5. So, very nice sized tomato. These are super meaty inside and super tasty. I was not expecting these Roma tomatoes to be quite so tall. These are plum tomatoes here. And these things are phenomenal. Phenomenal tomatoes in flavor, size, yield, vigor. Again, these are from that Italian seed company. Wasn't going to clip any more film on this today, but walking down the rows and looking at things and then walking my way back down, I just can't help but notice a very distinctive difference between these two. Like, it's so obvious. We go from some really healthy, happy plants in here, but you can see it gets sparsely going that way on this row. The other two rows, not so bad. I'm tending to think it's more seed quality than it is soil changes. But then we see here, it's like, it's pretty distinctive. But then the other row over there is super vigorous. So I don't know, we'll see when we do a plant sap test how these test against the stuff that's down that way. And hopefully we'll have a better picture. We do still have some CPB on here. And still some here too. But really there's only a few in the patch here. So I honestly don't know what to think, other than that these potatoes are doing really well. And maybe there's just a low CPB bug pressure here on this block. I don't believe there's a lot of potatoes being grown anywhere nearby here, so that makes sense. And I know no one's farmed this land for a long time, so it's quite possible that we just have a low CPB load. But I do find it interesting that it's only on those weaker looking plants and in those weaker soils down here where these plants are really vigorous and healthy. I've been unable to find any CPB I do see some other bugs flying through here, but nobody's chewing on plants, and the plants are growing really well. They're full of vigor and vitality. All right, just up here at this block. Holy cow. Man, things are growing fast. I got some twine with me tonight, so whatever I got stakes next to, I'm going to try and at least get semi-staked up. And I just saw in here, I was looking at, well, I saw a bunch of things, so we'll go through it. So I see some of the peppers did survive in here. Let's see. I don't see any in here. But also that holy basil that I seeded everywhere in here is popping up all through here. That's all holy basil right there. Multiple. And some of those peppers that were chewed off are coming back. So I don't know, they're probably not going to make it out too well this season. So I might end up bringing them back and putting them in the lab in a planter or something. And right next to that is more holy basil and more and more. And again, all I did was just walk through and seed it down. Just throw it down on top of the soil and more. And now it's all through here. So this whole bed should erupt with some more holy basil, and that'll give us more seed stock for next year, and a whole bunch of other awesome things, including some medicinal food. And there's another one there. And then these tomatoes all need to be staked up big time, because we actually have tomatoes coming on. So I'm going to get to work now for that. I brought along that lemon verbena that I clipped free the other night. I'm going to stick a couple of those in so they can crank out. As I think about where to put those, and knowing I purged off that foliar feed just uphill from this, and I don't know, maybe they'll help provide some protective cover for the remaining pepper plants. I think I'm going to stick them in here. And since so I basically just laid these over in here about a week ago, so I basically just pulled these back up out, and you can see they're throwing some nice root growth on them. Now one of these I promised for a friend. Well, I've been promising all season. I'm just getting around to getting some propagation going successfully on them. So that one I'm saving for a friend. My friend Marty, actually. But this one can go in, and I'll probably throw some of this nice black mix in with it so it has a nice starting base. And I don't know how many more we got out of this. I probably could... Yeah. I probably could clip these into multiple, but I think we're just gonna... I'm just gonna lay this flat with the roots down and stick it in and get them going, because it's so late in the season we don't have much time. We gotta make ground like now. All right, there we go. Tucked a couple of handfuls of that black soil in and tucked native over top on both. They're in, and I imagine these will grow like crazy now they have good sunlight, moisture, and so. All right, so it's not ideal, but with working what we got. Whatever that means. I had to come back. I got the clippers. I'm going to come back and do some pruning. But I just thought I would show these tied up, staked up, before I do the prune through. Because honestly, they look kind of messy and horrible. They'll clean up and grow up and stand up nice now that we're training them up. And as the season goes on, they'll look just fine. But right now, they look kind of messy and sloppy. And I probably also will come back through here and run the brush hog a little bit closer once I get them staked up and out of the way. And you might be wondering, why is he using survey flagging for tying plants up? What's wrong with this guy? Is he stuck on survey and engineering? No. I found over the years that it was what I had available initially. But I found in later years that the older survey tape, the stretchy stuff, is actually excellent for tying up tomatoes and things like that, because you get a certain amount of stretch with it. It's really easy to root around something, and it's nice and wide so it doesn't cut into the plant, and then they're really easy to break off later. And so I usually use hitches, mostly half hitches, to connect everything. Just an easy way to loop around, loop through, and pull tight. And now you got a nice hanging position that suspends your plants, but doesn't put this very rigid strain on them, to prevent them from floating in the wind. And it doesn't wrap a sharp, tight edge around them. And the way I tie these hitches, they actually will expand as the stem expands. So it doesn't constrict the stem either. So I may seem crazy, but I'm probably not. So I'm just gonna brush hog off in front of the tomatoes there. I gotta start the Ford up. It's running a little funny. Shut it off to take a look. And we got a leaking head gasket again. Isn't that dandy? Alright, well, I was gonna show you a nice clean mode brush hog shot, but yeah, that's not gonna happen now. So there you go. They're staked up. I went under them. I weeded up close to them so we don't have airflow issues. I'll have to come back and do a little more pruning, but they're at least up and climbing and starting a training session. And I gotta find more stakes for the other tomatoes, especially the Romas down in the front by the potatoes. But then there's another 100-foot row of tomatoes here. Keep your friends close and your farmers closer.